I finally got around it. I could hear him standing like this, screaming at me, running after my car. And I had no idea even what the man was talking about. And the only thing I could, because he was blocking the road, he didn't have, I was a CDL driver. When you block, you're supposed to put flashers and cones, especially if you're loading and unloading, and that's exactly what the man was doing. We've lived in the house for 70 years. It was bought in '53. I'm the current owner. I have been in it for 70 years when I was a little boy. And it is not abandoned. It still has furniture and stuff that were in it. There's people up there every single day taking care of it because we've got some animals there that are older and they would not be able to function outside of that neighborhood because they've always been around where there's a lot of field. And we've kept them over there, and we take care of the animals. We have plans in moving back into that, at least one of my boys. But let me first tell you that Miss Foreman didn't bother to tell you she's been conducting business there for quite a while in the residential area. This is a meeting tonight for zoning. I'd like to know how she got all that stuff approved and put in there, and it is residential. There should be a cease and desist immediately until there's a determination, because she's put stuff, or I should say her husband did, right outside the house that's beside my house that's blocking all the water flow from, and it's now coming down my direction. There are all kinds of cars parked over there. There is a fence, and I don't think anybody's gave any approval for her to be able to do this. She did it on her own. I also know that there's a couple of neighbors that have also let them park the empty cars and stuff over at their house. And I have some pictures too that I would like to show you guys. And I will tell you, I don't know if she told you or not, she's in the process of getting a divorce. And it's
That has no.
well, it does if she doesn't. It does if she doesn't get the house or the business.
All right, please, ma'am. Well, whatever she's doing in her personal life, that has nothing to do with.
Well,
with this
it has
meeting.
to do if it's, sir, it would have to do if it's got to do with who's going to get the property in the settlement. Because according to that, the party, there's property in there that's supposed to be determined by the court.
So
And that's part of
that
that.
does not affect this board. If you have information you would like to share with us, pictures, please share those pictures with us.
I will.
We'll be more than happy to take a look at those, but we're not going to have any direct attacks on anyone.
I'm not trying to attack. I am stating the facts. This is public record. I'm not trying to downgrade this lady. I don't know her. I don't know her. I've never met her. I do know her husband. Can I approach you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Start down there and just have them, hand them on down.
That's where I live. I'm the in-house. This is the house that's right next to me. That's what they put in right in front of the house. Without the owner's permission, by the way. That's the other part of it. That's where that was. At 511 North Garfield Avenue and 512 North Garfield Avenue is residential and not business. But yet they've been conducting this out of their house for about 2 to 3 years. Also, if you will look on the internet, it says Foreman Towing, 512 North Garfield, and gives directions. And this is their house that they're conducting out of. And they've been doing that for about 2 or 3 years. That's their primary residence. This is one of our concerns. 511 North Garfield. Open 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, day and night. They can bring cars in the middle of the night within not 300 feet, 50 feet from a bedroom in my home. They also have used Foreman Trucking, Wrecking, 501 North Mill. That's an empty parking lot. This is going, just because there's no one there right now, doesn't mean there's not going to be someone there for the future. This has been residential for years and years. This lady just moved in, and all of a sudden, they're going to decide that they're going to make that commercial because it's convenient for them because they live right across the street. Well, you know what? It would be kind of nice that they did it legally by going through the proper channels, not 2 years after they've already been doing it. And I've already consulted with an attorney because there's been damage that's been done to our neighborhood by having this here, because the fact we're not wanting to live by a junkyard or an impound for cars to come in and go on all hours of the night. We are a family that we expect to have our privacy, and this is not any different than anybody else in Pryor. I am sure that they do a good service. I'm not challenging that. I don't know anything about that. I'm challenging the fact that it's in the wrong location. Claymart is not over there. They're on the other side. Claymart has been in a commercial for, well, ever since it was a car lot called Packard Brothers. So they didn't do anything. All they did is just move in and keep their business over there. It was already set up. They're wanting to change residential. How long has it been residential? Wow, maybe 100 years? I don't know. We've owned the property since '52. But I can tell you that my family does not want this. We don't want the intrusion. We don't want to have to listen to them up and down. And not only that, we live on a dead-end street. How in the world are we going to get through there if that guy would do that to me? What are we going to do if we have to face that every day? And the fact that we're older, what if we need emergency people come through there? How are we going to get our mail? These people have blocked. We've had to sit and wait till they got finished doing what they were doing, and that was when we lived there. And this can't be. Their business needs to go into an area that supports what they're doing, not in a residential. This is going to devaluate every house in that area. Every house in that area. It's going to hurt. And it's going to devastate us when we decide that we're going to move back in there. I was going to build a new house there. My God, what would that do for resale value to have a junk cars 50 feet away from your house? No, no. I'm asking the council to please consider this and understand that there's other people that's involved in here besides. I understand that they do a lot for the community, but this is residential. This is family. This is where families grow up. This is where our family, I can't even tell you how many generations of people that have come through our house that have lived there. My grandma, my mom and dad, my dad, nieces, nephews. I can't even begin to tell you. I've had aunts, uncles that live there. And I'm asking you all to please understand, this is not anything personal against them. It is, we don't want a commercial in a residential neighborhood. Take it somewhere else. There's a lot of places around Pryor that would accommodate them. Just because it's not near where they are. I know that they got a good deal on that house because I know the people that sold it to them, and I know exactly how much they paid for it. It was a very good deal, but that's irrelevant. They're conducting business right now, and you see it up there in a residential neighborhood. Anyone else would be ticketed. There would be some kind of legal action brought against them for doing this without any kind of approval from the law. But yet they did it. And now they're coming here and saying, oh, now, after 2 years, we would like to make this legal. We want it changed. That's it.
All right. There's your papers. There's no questions at this time. This is merely, if you're a public member, if you'd like to come up and speak, you may come to the podium, state your name, and speak.
My name's Rodney Suter, and I live at 507 North Garfield. And I don't have a problem with it. There's not been no issues about it. And, you know, I know, just like this house right next door, he's complaining about having that business there, but yet he's got this house right next door to his house. And that's been an eyesore for 30 years, because I've been living in that house over 30 years where I'm at right now. And the only problems that I've ever had is when his kids.
Okay, we're gonna cut. I'm gonna start stopping people if we're gonna start directing attacks. That's
Okay.
you need to state
I
why you're for him.
I apologize, but I'm just saying he got to say what he wanted on it. But the point of it is, what we've done in that neighborhood, we've kept that grass mowed. We've mowed across the street from Claymart, behind Claymart. I've personally got out there with a riding lawnmower and mowed up and down that because it hadn't been mowed. Grass would be that tall, and I've been out there with my riding lawnmower doing it. Then Mr. and Mrs. Foreman's even helped kept them yards up when people had moved out of them houses over there. And I had a house right next door to me that got tore down about a year ago. And even though nobody was living in it, it still had furniture in it. But it had rats in it, it had, you name it, it was in that house. Because nobody was in that house, living in that house, taking care of it and keeping upkeeps on it. And then I've never seen anybody, I don't see no cars down at the end of the street, on a dead-end street. I see cars going up and down, checking the house, but that's it. But like I said, this house next door to him, if that business is an eyesore, what is this? This is more an eyesore than that business that gone in, because they have cleaned it up. They ain't been no problems. And sure, they're open 24/7. What record of business isn't? You go to J&M, you go to Wage Record, it's set 24/7. So you can't put a deal when somebody gets a call, because if it's me or one of us here need a record, he's going to be there to show up. But you can't say, well, he's up down the street 24/7, especially when somebody's not living down the end of the street. But like I said, this here's more of an eyesore in that business that this went in. They fixed it up, they've done the inside, and I know what they're getting ready to do, and I ain't had no problems. And it doesn't bother me for somebody to go up down the street, because one of these days I might need a record. And if he's not available, I usually get G&M or Shane Clark or somebody to help me out. But as far as the neighbors complaining, I'm not complaining, and I guarantee you there are other neighbors that ain't complaining, and there's just probably one that's complaining because he don't want it next door. But like I said, I just wanted to show, this picture of his house that's next door that I think his brother lived in, Kenneth McGuire. And he's been gone for over 20-some years. And that house has been like that for over 20 years, and there ain't nothing been done to it. But yet, when there's an improvement over there, once it's stopped. And I don't have no objections for it to be rezoned. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, sir. And we do have your letter. I believe you submitted a letter also. That's one of the letters that we had received in the packet.
I'm Deborah McGuire,
Mhm.
and I have lived in that house, that abandoned house at the end of the block, since 1996. I've been very happy there. That should not be turned in to a commercial. That is as close to the country as you can get and still be in town. Very peaceful, very nice place to raise a family. And as far as the house next door, yes, we helped mow it too. But it was never, ever piled up like it is now. And I know the people that owned it did not pile it up like that. I can't understand why they're not complaining about all of that, because they didn't put it there. I'm not saying he doesn't have a business. We live down the street right now from a man who has a wrecking service. He does not impound cars in his yard. He has his own business, and it runs successfully, but it's not at his home. And I do object to the change. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Anybody else?
My name is Etola Russell, and I live at 504 Northeast Garfield, or North Garfield. I've been there for about 6 years now, and since the Foremans have been in my life, they've improved the community. They've been helpful, and to be honest, the additional security that they've added on their business has helped us keep up with things that have happened in our neighborhoods with our children, with strange people walking through from the gardens, and I don't object to it being a towing business.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can I address this again in the letter that they wrote revised?
No, sir, this is not a argument. This is,
Well, this is-
no, sir, you've stated your case. They, sir, state your name, please.
My name's Corey Foreman. I'm the owner of Foreman's Owner Recovery.
Turn this way and face me, please.
I was introducing myself to the mayor while I was there. I have no problem, anything at all. I've been doing nothing but improvements as much as I can for the time that I have. So our next improvements, as far as the stuff that's piled, we're going through, and we even talked to the people that actually live next door in that old house. There's a gentleman that comes out once a year, and he trims up the bush because he says he doesn't want the city to complain about it. So I've even talked with him. I said, leave anything that's there. I said, we'll help get it all cleaned up, and we'll go through there. Because I plan on going down through as far as the fence line, where it's boxed in along any of the fences. Now that the leaves have died, I can go through there and trim everything back, clean everything up like it needs to be down through there to make it more presentable at the same time. Then next, we plan on going around the fence itself with black mesh to hide anything that's inside anywhere, to where none of the vehicles or anything show to any of the neighbors, anybody can see. Otherwise, I mean, the small improvements that we're doing, we're helping anybody through our neighborhood that needs help. Just about anything, anybody calls. I mean, as far as me working with all the law enforcement officers, as far as the sheriff's department, highway patrol, you can call the sheriff's department and ask them. I'm by far one of the fastest responding guys as far as record businesses here in Mays County, and they praise me on it. Because I can normally get to a call 20 to 30 minutes just about anywhere in the county. And that's for a wreck, maybe an impound for somebody drunk driving, anybody like that. But anybody that comes to, as far as comes to the business itself, nobody ever acts of any kind of meanness or anything like that. Everybody's normally pretty calm, doesn't have any trouble. Every now and then you'll get people that elevate themselves and they get upset just because of the fees that are there. And I'm charging state rates at that point in time. But they normally calm down once you explain everything to them and they understand what's going on. But as far as traffic, any more traffic or anything that's going up and down through that neighborhood, it really hasn't elevated itself any more than what it originally was before when I had started the business. And the only reason we had moved across the street is because I finally took my wrecker license from being just a general wrecker, being able to go pick people up, tow them, do my roadside stuff, to an actual full-blown AA, being able to help with all the police departments, as far as that, being able to store the cars for them, work the wrecks for them, and do anything that we possibly can for them. And I've made a point to cater to them as much as I possibly can, and that has helped. So with that being said, the business hasn't changed very much. Just the only thing that went in was the fence, the gravel, and my physical office got moved from 512 to 511 is the only thing. So if you guys would consider changing that for us, please. We're here to help the city in any way we can. Anybody needs anything through town, I try to help them as much as I possibly can and try to work with anybody that I can. No matter if it's, they only got $50 left to their name, I'm still gonna try to help them get to where they need to get helped. And that's one thing that record business is about. It's 24/7. We go out, we stand on the side of highways. We literally almost get hit all the time because nobody wants to pay attention to us at all. And it gets frustrating, but it's kind of what we live with. So if you guys would consider changing that, please, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else for or against? Doesn't matter. Now, speak now or forever hold your peace.
City needs to be heard.
Steve Powell with the City of Pryor regarding this. Normally, we don't present, and actually, you have the copy of our
Correct.
report in front of you. Our recommendation will be made to the next item on the agenda, but you should know that this particular property sits within an area that's zoned RD. It is surrounded by property that is zoned RD. It was not asked to be zoned commercial. It is asked to be zoned IL, which is the only zoning category that allows wrecker services. IL is considered industrial light. So there are several commercial zoning categories that fall between residential duplex and industrial I. There is no other property within 1,000 feet of this property that's zoned IL currently. The operation itself, regardless of its operation, cleanliness, orderliness, or nothing, or operation, the property needs to be zoned according to its use. And under this definition, it would be considered spot zoning. And spot zoning is an item that has connotations to it. If you allow spot zoning to happen, you denigrate or you degrade neighborhoods. This needs to be an orderly function in accordance with the comprehensive plan. And guidance from the Oklahoma Municipal League in this regard has been requested. And if you want to find out more about the ramifications for spot zoning, that can be discussed under the next item. But our recommendation is that denial of this. Well, we'll talk about that in the next item.
That's the next one. I do say we have two other, we have one from Miss Amy Johnson at 514 North Garfield. It was in our packets. She is for the business. And then we have another individual from that area that has asked to remain anonymous, and this individual is against the zoning. It's in your packet so you all can see. I'll also note that the Bank of Commerce, which I believe is the mortgage holder according to the letter, he has no objection for the zoning change from the Bank of Commerce, and that was also in our packet for you all to see. Anybody else want to speak? Going once? Going twice? All right, I'll entertain a motion to exit public hearing.
Make a motion, we exit public hearing.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on this? If not, call for vote.
Denham.
Yes.
Extra.
Yes.
Clancy.
Yes.
Halbert Swartz.
Yes.
Mallory.
Yes.
All right, we're out of public hearing. Basically, in a nutshell, everyone that you've spoke. Now this is the business side of it, and if we have a question, we'll direct it towards you. If not, please remain silent. And item number 4, discuss possibly recommend council action regarding the zoning change to IL, Industrial Light, for Katie Foreman, Pryor Acres, Section Township and Range of 72119, beginning 305 feet of the north of the southwest corner of the southwest, southeast, northeast, east 125, north 113.8 feet, east 25 feet, north 36.2 feet, west 150 feet, south 150 feet, to point of beginning, better known as 511 North Garfield. Mr. Powell, it's all you.
As indicated before, but this is under Section 10, or Chapter 10, Section 15, Item 3 regarding rezoning. Staff recommendation is denial because it constitutes definition of spot zoning.
Can the city be heard briefly?
Yes, sir.
Kim Ritchie, city attorney. I just want to address the board as well as the folks who have made the application, as well as the others who are in attendance. So if you don't mind, I'm going to stand sideways.
Please.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right. A lot of confusion results out of zoning because people don't deal with zoning every day, and a lot of people don't understand how zoning works. So, as a general overview, cities implement zoning, dividing the city up into various areas pursuant to what's called a comprehensive plan, which has to be done about once every 10 years, has to be updated. The work that goes into that comprehensive plan is planning for the development of the city overall to enhance not only the economic development of the city, but also the residential development and quality of life standards and things like that. When you implement that zoning, then you must, by law, follow guidelines. One of those guidelines is a prohibition, an absolute prohibition against what's called spot zoning. Spot zoning occurs when you have, for instance, a residential neighborhood that's maybe 3 or 4 blocks square, and one lot within that neighborhood wants its zoning changed to commercial or industrial or whatever. And that area has no, is not within an area that's going to be planned for any change in that zoning. Okay? Under that comprehensive plan, this is how we systematically protect the quality of life, economic development of the city, provide utilities, plan for drainage. All of those types of things have to go into it. If you spot zone, that is an illegal act, and it carries penalties with it, and it can carry civil liability against the city. So that's why it is so important, and usually when you're buying and selling real estate, if you're using a broker or whatever, one of the first things everybody determines is what's this property zoned, because that's what it can be legally used for. And if it's not zoned what you want to use it for, you have to either decide, okay, I can't use it for what I was planning to do with it, so I'm not going to buy it. Or you try to get the seller to go through a zoning change on it before you buy it to see if it can be changed to a zoning that will accommodate your use. Okay? That's why it is so important to check zoning out on property when you're buying it, to make sure that it can be used legally for what you plan to use it for. Because you're not guaranteed that change. Now, another thing about zoning that confuses people is that you move into an area and it's zoned residential. But yet there's a commercial use right next door, maybe in that same area. And so you think, well, I can do that. Well, that's not the case. Because when zoning is implemented, if there's a property in that area that is already being used for a different use, then that's what's called grandfathered use. And while the zoning is changed, that particular property that was grandfathered in can continue to be used for that use until that property no longer is used for that. Maybe the building burns down or tornado wipes it out, or, you know, something happens to it. Then it can't be used for that anymore. Because that grandfathered use has stopped. And I've looked at the documentation that the city engineers provided, that the city staff has provided on the zoning in this area. And to change this to a IL would be spot zoning. And it's illegal. We can't do it. Commercial uses that are happening right close to this property are grandfathered uses. Because those have been commercial use for, I don't know how many years. I've been here since 1972, and those buildings weren't used commercially and have been ever since, even though zoning has been changed in some of those areas. So those are grandfathered uses. If that use stops on those other properties, they're not going to be commercial, because they're not going to be able to reestablish that commercial use after it's not used anymore. So, you know, just to kind of recap, my position as city attorney is that this zoning change can't happen. It would be spot zone. And I hate it for you guys. These things are hard to get through. The law and just the facts of what's going on doesn't make this something that, in my opinion, as city attorney can be done. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Does the board have any discussion or any questions for our city attorney, city engineer?
No, I just want to thank him for clarifying that, because I don't want to do anything illegal.
Can't really beat that way of explanations. And I do thank you for taking the time to be here.
You bet.
So do we have any questions for the foremans or the attorney or the city engineer?
I guess I would like to know why they have been operating that for however long, and nothing has come of it.
I don't know.
That would be a code enforcement issue, would it not?
It would be a code enforcement.
Not technically our to deal with.
Yep, I can comment for that. So initially, we just started out with just the trucks. So it was just him doing tows from one location to another. And just this year, he got approved to be able to actually store. When we get on rotation with OHP and the police department, they say that you have to have area to store. And that just happened this year in 2022. So that's what prompted the fence and things like that. So
Thank you.
prior to that, obviously, it was just the trucks were parked in our driveway
Okay.
because they were only being used to take a vehicle from one location to another location and drop it off. That's where that change happened.
Okay, thank you.
And that's as a G license record. It's just your basic generic. I think I was trying to kind of explain.
I'm familiar with it.
Rotational.
Thank you.
All right. If there's no questions or comments, do I have a motion?
Make a motion, we vote on the prescribed zone change.
All right, I have a motion.
I'll second that.
I have a second. Any further discussion?
No, we are voting to deny.
This is either for or deny.
So yes would be for the vote change, and no would be to deny the zoning change, correct?
would we be doing it legally correct, or does it need to be a for or?
What's your motion? Is your motion to approve it, or is it to deny it?
To vote on it.
We probably either have to say either for
You need a
or for or
motion
against.
To approve it, or you need to, a motion to
Okay, then we
deny it.
amend the motion to approve the present request for zone change,
You're making a motion to approve?
to have a vote to approve it.
No, that's not what I said.
No.
Your motion needs to be to approve the zoning change or deny the zoning change.
Then I'm making a motion to either approve or deny.
No.
No, no, you-
Make one or the other.
Oh, you can only make one or the other?
Yeah,
only have
yeah, that,
Oh,
that's what's banging home.
then, well,
You want to withdraw your motion?
at this point, yes.
I'm going to withdraw my second too.
Then, Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion that we deny this application.
All right, I have a motion to deny. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second? All right. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right,
Just to clarify,
this is a motion
How we
to deny. So if you vote yes to deny, it's going to be denied. All right, everyone good with that?
Dunham,
Yes to deny.
Ragsdale,
yes.
Clancy,
Yes.
Alvis Watts,
Yes.
Malore,
Yes. All right, the motion's been made to deny the recommendation against that. All right, item number 5, unforeseeable businesses. Not hearing none. Number 6, adjournment.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second that.
All right, we got a first, second. Call for vote.
Dunham,
Yes.
Ragsdale,
Yes.
Clancy,
Yes.
Alvis Watts,
Yes.
Malore.
Yes. All right, motion's adjourned, meeting's adjourned. Thank you for that explanation. That was very,
Not a problem. How are you?
explains it thoroughly, didn't it? I would have never been able to do that. He did a very eloquent explain everything. I was like,
It's easier when you just call balls and strikes, right?
Yeah.
You made it where it's easy to call.
I'll probably drink coffee and a shake to drink on the road or something. All righty.
We'll stop as we have.
We probably will need.
And on the way home.
You're traveling.
See merits
And on the way home.
in their request.
And on my head.
Drive down that neighborhood, you're gonna see it's anything that's
Okay.
there is commercial.
They were just testing lunch.
I know we need records. I'm one of the firemen, and so we're out there waiting all the time.
You also have to look at
Yeah, I
this
said, I know your
oil
plight.
and the gasoline.
So go for it.
It's got a